and the ancestors are looking out for us. God Hayes is exposing them, man.
Okay, you see that chair right there? See how big it is?
Yeah.
Now look at the poke chair under it. Scroll down, look at the poke chair under
Never have it been made so clear.
Young TV. Young.
We running the game right now.
Young TV.
Time to take over.
Young TV.
We the hottest in the game. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button. If you just not tuned in.
TV.
Share, like on your Instagram, Facebook.
Young TV.
If you tuned in, we broadcasting live from 2030, baby.
Young TV. Young
Taking over the game, baby. Oh yeah.
Young TV.
Hit that like.
Young TV.
Get them likes up in the air, you heard me?
Young TV.
Ride by. Hotel Islam.
Young TV.
Assalamu alaikum. Shalom alaikum. Peace.
Young
Be unto you.
TV.
Hit that like.
Boy, do we have a show for you tonight. We got more evidence on how these guys 3-card mollied us, man. They 3-card mollied us good with this one, man. They almost had us, though. But me and Chief Skype at the North Gate is back on with some more banging information and clips for you, man. I tell you, these clips right here is really heartbreaking. For my Egyptologist guys, they might not like this one, or they might like it. I mean, why shouldn't you like it? It's still, you know, we just we showing you the right location. So, Roy, you want to say, hey, y'all hit that like, man. This is about to get good. Hey, Roy, you want to say anything before we open up with this first nail in the coffin?
Yeah, just remember, y'all, anything that you see us do is public notice. Notice to agent is notice to principal. All frauds are going to be exposed sooner or later. More sooner than later. This is coming to an end. We looking at all of this stuff. They got countdowns to alien invasions going on. They got weather anomalies, earthquakes, and everything going on. Got spaceships parked by the moon going on. They got spaceships coming from deep space going on. They got government infiltrating itself going on, right? So it's all a big cluster of events all rolled together. Individually, they each tell a different piece of the story, but when you put them all together, you get the panoramic view that something huge is on the horizon. And you can see it creeping its head like the sun in the early morning over the horizon. There's something coming up. And this is what they call event horizon. It's right before the event, you start seeing the effects of the coming event play out in the stars, the zodiac signs, and the numerology, in the gematria, the public spectacles, the political satire out of Washington, the Hollywood parodies and central casting out of Hollywood, Los Angeles, the city of angels, right? So we watching all of this stuff happen, but we only used to seeing small pieces at a time. So we won't never look to put the bigger puzzle together with the small pieces we see. So we about to get on into it, Elder. You can roll the coin and we can get started and let's see what we're going to talk about. This is the Young Elder production. Thank you for your time, energy, and effort in showing up to this glimpse into the future.
Hey, thank you for flying Delta, man. You know what I'm saying? Buckle your seatbelts. This is about to be a good ride right here.
Egypt, 1934. Beneath the blazing sun and upon the golden sands of the Nile, mankind embarks on a monumental feat, the first ever construction of a colossal stone pyramid rising proudly from the desert floor. At the heart of this vast site, thousands of workers labor tirelessly, hauling and placing enormous blocks of stone with astonishing precision. Though only the lower tiers have taken shape, the grandeur to come is already apparent. The pyramid stands incomplete, yet awe-inspiring. Nearby, carved from solid bedrock, the majestic head of a lion with a human face begins to emerge. Dubbed the Sphinx, this enigmatic sentinel is destined to watch over the sacred grounds for centuries to come. Engineers, dignitaries, and curious onlookers gather to witness history in the making. Never before has such ambition been poured into the sands of time. And so, before our very eyes, a legend is born. Not from the pages of ancient texts, but from the hands of modern men, chiseling their place into eternity.
That Rod, this sparked my first question, because that video right there showed them putting that stuff together after the Smithsonian Institute, because the Smithsonian Institute is 18 right after right now it's 1820 something. This right here, that's the Smithsonian Institute is already well established over here, covering stuff up. These guys over there putting together the what they showing us as Egypt. They building it like a movie set. Not only did they mention that before I go into my question, I already know that we got evidence that they moved a lot of the temples, because they said that they were flooded out and they had to move them 200 feet, 600 feet, some of them. It depends, right? But a lot of we know that a lot of the how do you move a whole temple? How do you move a whole temple without, you know what I'm saying? So it's a lot going on. What you think about that, Rod? It's like they building a movie set in the 1930s.
Listen, that's that set that you were seeing was a movie set, and the movie set was popularized on those Moses movies and the biblical movies that they was producing in the 40s and the 50s. The only reason why you know that difference between the Giza Plateau and that replica they was building, there's a whole story that go with that film, the backstory to what we were seeing play out in the video, right? And they also got papers about it where they talked about trying to duplicate the construction of the Giza Plateau. So they was filming as they was seeing if they could match the architectural precision and the industrial labor to build a pyramid. But those pyramids is no ways as big as the ones in Giza.
Right.
This is how you know the difference from the set and the Giza Plateau, because one of the stones of the Giza Plateau is 60 freaking tons.
600, 300.
You know, so when we started talking about moving tons, we don't have that technology anymore. It got destroyed in the wars.
Right.
Right. But there is the remnants of the tire tracks that we left behind going through the mud and all of that.
Right.
You know, so they know that we had vehicles. Then when you go to India, the longest continuous record is in the Tibetan caves. And in there, they have actual drawings that's thousands of years old of vehicles, spaceships, city ships, a whole city on a ship, right? We used to have a lot of them, but the wars brought them down. A lot of what you see under the ocean is those wasn't cities from the ground. They were cities that were shot out the sky. Right? Earth was way bigger than it is now.
Right.
Right? The original moon ain't there. Right. But I think they switching it back now. Because when I was looking at some pictures of the moon the other day, they had two crescents, and behind one of the crescents, you could see a full, complete orb that was bigger than the crescent.
Yeah, I saw some weird. What day that was, bro?
A couple days ago, about 2 days ago.
Yeah, I think I seen some weird stuff like that too, and it was an orange hue on it, like an orange hue. I saw it from this angle though.
Yeah. But then you also seen some other planets. You know, so we've seen a lot of stuff going on in the stars over the last few weeks, and then the sun been going bananas, and the Schumann resonance been going hog wild.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So all that stuff means something. Nature, you can read nature like you read a book, but you have to have a codex to translate it into terms you understand. That's why a lot of the old people on the wind gusts come through, they can tell you a whole lot of stuff, but they don't know how to translate the wind message into English in a way that you know where they got it from.
Right.
Right. So that's the hard part, because that show you a whole new vein of drawing information from the area around you.
Mm-hmm.
So the great ambitions of man is always to outdo what he had done before.
Mm-hmm.
And to be able to mimic the construction of the pyramids, even if you can't build one as big as the Great Pyramid, whether it's the one over here or the one over there. Because, you know, we got a Great Pyramid over here too.
40 acres. Wow.
You know, so no matter which one of them it is, the size of the stones, the technology we have today, it don't cut it. It can't move them.
Right.
Right. But when you start talking about using vibration to relax the Higgs boson in order to neutralize the mass matter, to reduce the capacity of the overall weight by suspending the densest part of it in the field between the lightest part of the atoms. Because the Higgs boson, the God particle, is the particle responsible for mass. That's why it was a big deal when it was rediscovered.
Mm-hmm.
It's called the God particle, and it's the basic building block of matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But it's to give each one of the atoms a different density.
Mm-hmm.
Density is what gives you this fixed position illusion in 3D. Otherwise, you would just walk through a wall.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when you got density and the vibration of the two things can't cancel each other out, you can't walk through the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But when you don't have density involved, then you meet with another object and you'll cancel each other out because of frequency. Right? It's like shooting two high-pitched sounds at each other and they neutralize each other out. They drown each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So that's how information also go through that same process.
Mm-hmm.
Over time, it gets spread out to the point where it's hard to pinpoint the point of origin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but that's what they was doing over there. They was making movie sets. You know, and a lot of the historical narrative they gave us is based on movie scripts that's based on translations of ancient writings.
Right.
And they don't know if none of that stuff is true. They could have been fairy tales for them people back then too.
Right.
Right? We don't know. But we know that the science in there is accurate. Right? Because it's still as amazing the scientists of today. It's the same with the hieroglyphs. The writings on the wall. It's called metal netter, the writings of the gods. But if also you got anatomy in the same writing that you got trigonometry and geometry in the form of an artistic work called a painting.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when you looking at Bess, we talking the amygdala.
Mm-hmm.
When you're looking at Horus, we talking about the base of the spine, the pons region.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And with so forth and so on, they all got a different part of the body they represent as the parts in the construction of the grand man.
Mm-hmm. Hey, so this next question, I on the last tape, I heard you say something about King Tut's tomb. I also heard Hakeem Bey say something about it, and I found two interesting clips that go along with what you were saying about King Tut's tomb. I'm gonna play those clips, and then maybe you could give analogies on what they said, back in what you said the last class. All right, so here's this first guy.
This cave over in southern Illinois is the remains of the ancient Sun Kings. There's no question about that now. We know who they are. The question of how they got there is something else again, until you think about it. You know, the rivers used to be the interstate highways. I'm putting you into the area where this cave is, all right? You have the Mississippi River north to the Ohio River, to the Wabash River, to the Little Wabash River, to Skillet Fork. And at a certain place on the banks of Skillet Fork, you're within a quarter mile of this cave. In the 7th century BC, well, my goodness, everyone knows that there were no seafaring people. How could they get from Africa or somewhere to the United States? That's what a lot of people will tell you. There was people called the Phoenicians. I want to tell you what, the Phoenicians had some big ships. Their biremes and their triremes were very large ships. Back at this period of time, of course, the Mississippi ran by the place now called Poverty Point. And Poverty Point, Louisiana, there is residue left yet from stockpiles of native ore, copper, which had been transported down the Mississippi River from somewhere. What they were doing, of course, is transporting this ore back into Egypt or wherever, and they're making bronze.
So if we could probably ask a couple questions. Now, this guy said that the Phoenicians, we know that's the Watutsis, and that they was over here already. And he said, he asked them how they get here from Africa. And we've been saying that these people that come from Africa, they was already over here. And they saying that this go back almost 30,000 years. Because I got more clips that go along, and this lady gonna go talk about the King Tut part. So why they covering this up? How is they covering this up about these people who they say as Africans was already over here?
Look, they're not covering it up.
Go ahead.
The story they discovering it in real time. America has not been under the archaeological, anthropological scrutiny that the rest of the world been through. So they have to tie everything into the out of Africa theory because that's their point of origin. They starting with the idea and the concept that everybody started in Africa. Therefore, that means that if it was somebody over here, they had to come from Africa. Because when you get back past 8,400 years, everybody melanated with nappy hair. Right? So now the justification is everybody melanated with nappy hair is African. But they all come from the land that they own originally. Right? They want to give you the idea that a man and one woman made all the people on the earth. That's ridiculous. Right? It was tribes all over the earth. They all emerged together. Right? But we have to follow the Darwinian knuckle walking philosophy of turning from a gorilla into a human or a chimpanzee into a human. That's ridiculous. Right? But because we don't have the memory of what we are, who we are, then we gonna go with the most popular narrative because that's what the most people say is the narrative to follow. It don't make it true. All of the discoveries over here, most of them are under 150 years old because it was too much war going on to survey and dig up archaeological digs in the middle of the colonization process because we was fighting like a mofo.
Right.
All over the land. The only thing that stopped us is a truce, a ceasefire based on the Conjure War.
Mm-hmm.
Educate yourself about the condition in the end of 200 years. We'll see who can settle it then.
Right.
Wasn't no high chiefs when they came over here. Everybody was a chief in training. All them great chiefs you read about in the history books that was fighting the colonizers, they was trainee chiefs. Wasn't no high chiefs. No, all of the real high chiefs was letting the other chiefs run the land. They got to get the practice. So because all of the high chiefs was between lives, probably, right? They check out and then we get attacked. And the ones that's in the positions, they got to do the best they can with what they know, but they're not the best strategists we have. They're not the best warriors that we have, right? So when we call in for a strategist, we need somebody that can unravel everything, tell us what the strategy is and what the remedy is, and based on what's going on, the system is going to eventually fold to the demands of the original people. They have to because it's law.
Mm-hmm.
It's galactic law that overrides universal law. This is the close of the age, and at the close of the age, we had to close all of the conjures. That's how they knew when John Dee told Queen Elizabeth about putting us into this hypnotic trance using the first blood of the righteous. Crispus Attucks, first blood of the Revolutionary War, to put the people in the land in the slumber and then miseducate them.
Right.
And come the Rockefeller Templar movement to disorient our mind from what part of the land we from by giving us this misdirection called Africa.
Right.
But we didn't call it Africa, and we've been dealing with them people and marrying them people for thousands of years before Europe was even fully developed. Now all of a sudden, there's no connection, and they brought us all over here from over there. But they don't got it in their oral histories about no mass exodus of people from Africa. So we know that's not true. Right? And they tell you in the with those slave things that they got put up on the coast for you to go visit where your ancestors left from.
The Ivory Coast.
They tell you when you go on tour over there, if you ask them, wasn't no pale faces in no motherfucking trade back then.
Right.
Them was all nappy hair, woolly hair Arabs that looked like any other Negro. And they was calling themselves Jews later. At the time, they was mariners, merchants of the high seas. This is how they developed the Uniform Commercial Code to enforce the jurisdiction of admiralty. And the only thing they had was to try to figure out how to apply the admiralty salvage rights to the land.
Yeah.
And they've been pillaging us ever since under the squatter right, under the salvage rights, right? And they've been using eminent domain in order to continue the search for more of the civilis mortis, the black folks, labeled dead, lost at sea.
Yeah.
Right? The reverse side of the coin is they talking about the stealth priests, the ones who we know is going to emerge on the land, but if we got to stop them, if we don't want them to reclaim their birthright, because all they have to do is put it in the public domain. And when enough people get a hold of understanding of what's taking place, then the changing of the guard takes place. And we there now.
They burned these. Anana mentioned something about her daughters being burned at the stake when they first came. And it's about around 150 years when they said that these people could come back.
You know what she's talking about when she said her daughters got burned when they first came. That was the gender war when it first started.
Mm-hmm.
The daughters of Isis, the daughters of Inanna, it depended on where the sacerdotal seat was, depending on which one of them, or the daughters of Kali if it was the sacerdotal seat in India.
Yeah.
Right. If the sacerdotal seat was in Kemet, it's the daughters of Isis.
Right.
If it's in Babylon, it's the daughters of Inanna or Ishtar, depending on the era. Right, because it moved from one side of the Babylonian Empire to the other. So what we call Sin is a son of Enlil, Ninursin.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the military strategist who wrote this 120 degrees of trigonometry, Yakub's story. How to usurp and undermine the people and how to confuse them using magic, politics, science as tools of war. Then they incorporated religion and entertainment into it, because if they can get the politics, of course, religion is only one step away from politics.
Right.
If you go back a couple 50, 60 years, the preachers had just as much power as an attorney. They used to be able to go in and get people out of jail for free because they was clergy. Now the clergy ain't got no juice. They got all the money, ain't got none of the power. The only time that happens is when people sell out. They have all of the money and none of the power. They got mega churches full of people with all of the money and none of the power.
Right. And they teach prosperity. That's what their whole it was. They gave them, it's like a list they can preach about. So a dude came out and made a comment about that, about the loans, that they only give certain people loans and to be part of that organization. Hey, but back before I go sideways, let me ask you one more question about the video we just watched. He also mentioned there that this was the sun, that they found pharaohs buried there. This
Is that
3,000.
called Sun Kings?
Yeah. It says pharaohs. Go ahead.
So when they call them Sun Kings, they are. Remember what me saying before? Everybody, when they call somebody Sonny Boy, son, they tell you he was born to be a chief.
Right.
Right. It's the same. It's the same underlying principle. Right. In Greek, it would be Helios.
Right.
Right. Which also means fire.
Right.
Where you get your idea of the doctrines of hell are those doctrines that overcomes the conjures of the Babylonian powers. So when we talking about this power of the sun, we talking about learning to adapt to the solar rays and use that solar energy for spiritual awakening. And then there's a way that the sun will tell you it's time to wake up. And we in that time now, and this is why they waiting on the great solar flash. Because he's going to give out a super flash that's going to make the earth orgasm. And everything that don't belong on here when she scream, out of here.
Mm-hmm. All right, this next one, it goes more dealing around the King Tut thing, but that guy just was before, so he already verified that. Hey man, we've been finding stuff, but they go back 30. We don't even know how. We just say 30. It might be older, and it's Phoenicians and people already over here. So that's what he calling them, but that might not what they call themselves.
Yeah, the Phoenicians were seafaring Canaanites.
Go ahead.
And they were some of the earliest versions that became later known as Blackamoors and Blackamoor Jews.
Man, they people was already over here. And it's funny. It's funny how you just said that the sun, then you tied it in with fire, and then that ties in with the city of Aura, fire and aura. But that's another topic. But let me play this. Let me play this right here, part right here.
Okay, so you see this here, and they say that this is the Valley of the Kings. Y'all see that, right? Okay, now we're gonna go here They say the royal burial ground here, right? Now on here, they say, can you see it? King Tut, the very last one, number 20. That's King Tut. They say he was found right here at number 20. Can y'all see that? Number 20. He said they said they found him at number 20. So here he is. Now, if I go to my other book, it says here, King Tut, because this is the King Tut book. This is ancient Egypt book, right? It says right here in this newspaper article, that's Louisville. Y'all see that? What year is this? 1926, Louisville. Said he was found. It's right here. But this book says the Valley of Kings, and he was found right there. So if I take this, right, these half-truths plus, here's King Tut in the book some more, right? I marked it off. But if this book, if they say that he was found in Kentucky, Louisville, King Tut, we got it all right here, and it is the Valley of Kings. That means it's multiple ones, and we already know King Ramses the Third or somebody, people testing positive for, testing positive. But anyway, you see that? So if Tut was here, if he was there, to see my shadow in here, if he was here, 20, that means everybody else got to be over here too. Or I'm just so wrong.
Now, see what it is. Now, so what it is, you know, King Tut was, his dad was Antanankan. He was a mixture of the Watutsis, which is the Phoenicians, and somebody say he could. We have suspect that he could have had some kind of extraterrestrial mix, like a cone heads, because they were saying that he was a Morphodite. And then, you know, but this is the thing. Based on what the old boy said, 30,000 Phoenicians over here. They finding King Tut's tomb over here. That all lines up with all of, man, I got more evidence that we're gonna play, but could you go in on that? They finding King Tut's tomb in Kentucky, and it lines up with what old boy saying about finding the tombs. All the valleys and the valleys. Go ahead.
So you got to remember, it was a while after the announced discovery of King Tut tomb that they take the King Tut exhibition on tour. Right? They did a parody about King Tut's tomb on Abbott and Costello of them discovering it. Then at the beginning of the show, they come into the office, they in Hollywood, right? And then in the next scene, they going into the pyramids, right? So the connection is the story of the discovery of Mammoth Cave. When you go do your research on Mammoth Cave, you'll find that it had a burial site of multiple graves. That's what the girl was telling you. The Valley of the Kings is Mammoth Cave. Right? That's the underground tunnels that they represented. It's just to do the layover. Do the layover. You can get the diagram of Mammoth Cave, and then you can get the picture of the Valley of the Kings tomb sites, and then you can do an overlay.
Yeah, that's what she did. That's what she did. And if it stands the reason, if King Tut's over here, then all the rest of them that probably was before him, going back 30,000 years to old boy Cave, son of the Galilee Cave, they all was over here. And we're gonna get to some of this. Let's go into one of these next clips on why some of this could be happening, why this could be covering up like this. All right, let's play the next clip because that was a good one.
Secret, and I asked
him, what
secret is he talking about? He said, yes, America is Egypt. He was like, that's what the Seminole War was about, the Louisiana Purchase was about, and he was like, Look up this map. It's called Tamari. And he say, y'all is Tamarikans. So I went to look up at the map, right? And I was amazed he was right. He was like, that's y'all true nationality. And he was like, when the Seminole War broke out, that's when they won and they took over America and started calling them Americans, and they spelt it different. And the Bible is based upon y'all. All pastors know this, Freemasonry know this, everybody know this.
Pyramid on the Nile in Northeast Africa doesn't have stair steps going up it. It doesn't have temples on top of its summits. They could not go and break through the boat on the temples atop those great pyramids. There are none there. And that was the clue that Egypt was writing about the Americas. And the deeper I got into the records, the clearer it got. They started actually saying, and because Amun loved that land so much, he said it's his beloved land, and that word was Mary, the beloved. Mary, M-E-R-I, Mary.
Guys, I have a confession to make. America is Egypt. The Creeks are actually the Greeks. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy, also known as the Iroquois, are the Romans. Utah is the land of Judah. New York is the oldest city on the planet, and the Mississippi River is the Nile. The New World is actually the Old World. Life started in the Americas. There's more pyramids and mummies here than any part of the world. Turtle Island is actually Pangea. Noah built his ark out of wood that only grows in Florida for a flood that only floods like in Florida. Back in Adam and Eve's days, and even the days of Noah, everybody was giant. And they also find giants all over the east coast of America. The Smithsonian and the Vatican have destroyed all the giant bones. They were anywhere from about 7 feet to 25 feet tall. The Mesopotamian creation story about the Anunnaki, the twin brothers that came from the stars, named Enki and Enlil, that created mankind and taught them things, sounds a lot like a lot of Native American creation stories about two twin brothers that came from the stars that were giants and created mankind and everything. Elephants come from America. They derive from woolly mammoths. Camels also come from America. They derive from alpacas and llamas in South America. So do zebras and horses. Cheetahs also come from America. The Aztecs called their lands Aztlan, and it's actually Atlantis. The Egyptian gods, Horus was a peregrine falcon from upstate New York. Set was a South American anteater. Anubis was a dog from Central America. Isis is a blue heron from upstate New York as well. If life started in Africa, why doesn't everybody have African DNA? But everybody has a Cherokee grandma or a Blackfoot princess grandma. Modern science says mankind started in Africa 300,000 years ago. But here's a hammer that's 400 million years old, found in Texas.
Boy, that, he said all the stuff you just said. You be saying he just cracked heads in about 2-3 minutes. That's what
Yeah.
you go ahead,
The
bro.
only
You
thing
want to talk
is,
about what's happening?
one thing he said he said that the Creeks is the Greeks. All that's overlay. All that biblical shit. That's overlay.
Yeah.
All of these cities and country named after biblical cities was after the fact names. It wasn't the
Right.
names before colonization. All you
Right.
got to do is look up when they was chartered, because that's when they was named.
Right.
They had to be named in the charter. The fact that
Right.
they need a charter, meaning that they need somebody to okay them to name and claim that territory. That's
Right.
part of the salvage rights,
Right.
right? So we operate in government, they step on our government, and then they put their government in place of ours.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they need charters for. We didn't need charters for our villages. Most of them was on a family farm anyway. And then we lived off the produce of the farm. We didn't have no grocery stores. We didn't need them.
Mm-hmm.
We need some eggs. We go out to the chicken coop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got them big old uncles out in the barn slaughtering cows.
Mm-hmm.
Back then it was bison before they came, but when they switched to stock out.
Hey, y'all hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Huh?
Yeah, so once they switched to the livestock we use from,
It got you real low, Rob. Yeah, we echo.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it's fine. It's back normal now.
Yeah, somebody was trying to call in, but let me forget where I was at. Oh, when they switched out the livestock, we adapted. We adapted to everything they threw at us.
Right.
Right. And now it's time for the big payback.
He said that the part he said about the gopher wood. I got a whole tape on it, and I got a couple of clips from that tape that I'm gonna play in just a minute. That's only found in Florida. So if Noah, we know some of this stuff could be allegory, and some of this stuff they found in the gimmick epic and leash. We saw a similar storyline, but what we saying is if he used gopher wood is found in Florida. So how do they get around that, bro? How do they get around that part? The Bible?
They lie. They flat out lie.
Okay, go ahead.
That's only look when the truth comes. The only way you combat the truth is to tell a lie that is convincing enough for people to believe over the truth. It's the only thing they can do. That's why they keep telling me we all from Africa. We are not from no damn Africa. Right. And people think when we say that it's a knock on Africans. It's not a knock on Africans.
Go ahead.
Right? It's a knock on colonizers trying to disassociate us from the land by telling us we from somewhere else so that they can hold the rights to the land because we don't know who we is and we at home. So if we at home when we don't know who we is, they don't got to give us nothing.
Right.
But once they understand that we know who we is, we know who run this, whose territory this is by birthright, all we do is put it in the public domain. It's the land of Tahuti for a reason.
Right.
Right? So even when you go back, everything in the Emerald Tablets start over here.
Right? That's facts.
You know, so we can chop it up however we want to. It's just that this narrative has been controlled with misinformation, propaganda, and disinformation.
Right.
Misinformation is designed to make you believe something that's not true. Disinformation is to steer something that could be true in the wrong direction.
Right.
To make you follow a different trail than the trail you should be following.
Right.
Right. Propaganda is used to flood the market with so much of a type of information that it got to be true because there's too many people saying it.
Right.
Even though it's not true, it was just made up. Like the United States was the government for the people. It was intended to be that way when it started, but it wasn't for the people of the land. It was for the people that came.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't never supposed to cross the Appalachians, and they weren't never supposed to deviate from their 13 colonies, but they used the law of warfare to assert their jurisdictional claim.
Mm-hmm.
And we fell for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This guy also mentioned another piece where he said that I think I already asked that question. I'm gonna roll this next one. He said I think I asked you about the gopher wood. Now let's roll this next one and see what we got.
And I asked him, what secret is he talking about?
This is the war they never taught us. From 1492 to 1775, America wasn't discovered, it was invaded. Not by one country, by 7. Russia came through Alaska. The Netherlands took parts of Canada. Britain and England worked both east and west coasts. France came up through New Orleans and the Gulf. Italy moved through Texas and Gulf territories. Spain invaded from the west coast down through Argentina and Chile and back up the spine of America. This wasn't exploration. This was a 283-year war, and the target indigenous Black Americans, the copper-colored, wool-haired people already here. They didn't come here to enslave Africans. They came to steal land from the indigenous. They just called us Negro to erase who we were. By 1775, we surrendered. We lost our right to vote, lost our land, and got renamed. They threw us on reservations if we submitted, and labeled us Negro if we refused. And now they act like we don't belong, like our story started on a slave ship. But the truth, the ships never brought us here. They were used to ship us out, erase us from this land. This war wasn't just physical, it was legal, paper genocide, land grabs, reclassification. The original Americans are now called everything but what we are. You want to know why we're struggling? Because we're fighting under false names, false history, and stolen status. It's time to correct it. Learn the truth. Reclaim your status. You're not lost. You were renamed. And now it's time to return. Please like, share, and subscribe. Give your honest opinion.
Hey, shout out that boy Xavier for the super chat and everybody else. We'll get to your questions. Rod, so the part that I want to talk to you about on what she said, and she said a lot too. She said some good stuff. But we're being attacked by several different countries at one time from different angles. And when I look at the maps, I'm starting to realize that, hey, when they took over this area, if they were from France, they called it what they want. So it might have been, if it might have been what we called it, then they called it something else. Or even they might have called it exactly what we called it, just in their own language. Like Chicago goes back to Stanky Onion. So could you go in how they strategically, seven different countries attacked us all at once? So this must have been an organized plot to steal our land.
You got to go back to the French Revolution, the Spanish Inquisition. Because the people that's being kicked out of these countries and the adjacent countries is the ones that we fight, not the country itself.
Okay.
Right? Okay. They looking for a homeland. They look like us, but they not us.
Uh-huh.
In order for them to claim a piece of land, they had to report back to the people that kicked them out and say, can we stay here?
Right.
Right? So this is where you get your multiple countries. They came from all of those European countries because that's where the Great Inquisition took place to oust the people that they was calling them Jews and Moorish Jews at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But when they kicked them out of their land from over there, they had a outreach port to collect them in what was at the time called Al Maghrib, which today we know as Morocco, Tunis, and Algeria in that territory. Now, they don't name it Africa until the Berlin Conference that takes place in the 1800s.
Right.
This is when they changed from calling it Ethiopia to Africa. Right. And then depending on where you're from, and some people call it Sudan.
Right.
You can see it written across the old maps.
Right.
Okay, now they using this false narrative they giving us. So we don't know that when the invasion happened, who was invading. So they had to create a class system, caste system, based off the scroll of government that they end up getting from invading India. So you got to look at when they was, before they ever came over here, they invaded the Indus Valley under Alexander the Great, under several Constantines. They keep going over there invading India and what's today known as Pakistan, but all that was Hindustan at the time. It's a misnomer or a fallacy that Columbus thought he was in India, because India wasn't named India until the 1940s or 50s. So whoever wrote the history books told that story after India was named India. The story can't be before that, because there's no way that somebody contemporary with the times wouldn't have knew that that place ain't called India, it's called Hindustan. Right? And it consisted of parts of Nepal, and all of that was all part of it. The Himalaya mountains, all that was Hindustan. This is who they conquering. What they looking for? Well, Alexander, once he conquered them, they said that he conquered the world for the next 2,000 years. Right? We looking at, what did he go there for? It takes us back to a story in the Sumerian tablets about Humbaba still in the scrolls of destiny, right? Which is the scrolls of government, how to manage and govern masses of people without having to micromanage every last one of them. So it tells you don't control the person, control the systems, control the flow of the information. You create a caste system and people will fight to stay in their position. Miseducation of the Negro 101. Right. If you teach him to use the back door, it don't matter. If he ain't got no back door, he'll go build one just so he can stay in this place. Right. Right? It's the same information given by a different elder at a different time to tell us the same thing. They're using the scrolls of government. According to Neely Fuller, it covered 9 areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. I say they add health, because though none of them 9 matter if you don't got good health. So that's the 10 scrolls. Right? So when you look at your statesmen, all your great statesmen at one point were physicians, medicine men, herbalists. Right? Even old Wooden Tooth George was a marijuana farmer. You know, so when we're looking at stuff with the modern lens, we had to adjust for what was going on in the earlier time. Right? Take into consideration they didn't have grocery stores, they didn't have corner stores, liquor stores, everything that somebody made, they had to get it from the manufacturer, the person that made it, or you couldn't have access to it. Right? So it was a brother building cars before Henry Ford using the assembly line method, but he don't get the credit because it breaks the caste system. So they're using all of those different tools of war, and the claiming of a territory, claiming of somebody's birthright land, it got to be nobody from the land that's objective. They all got to surrender and submit. And in order to get that many people to surrender or submit, you got to miseducate them all. And then you got to take out the ones that they call the dissident. Right? The dissident is the one who they say is bucking the system. He bucking the system. I mean, he don't want to go along with the fairy tale. He wants some real information to be put on the floor. How am I supposed to be paying child support and I don't got no contract to pay? Right. Show me the contract. Where the contract at? Right? So they want you to go through their system so they can tie you down to a contract. Adhesion contracts are fraud contracts. And fraud vitiates all contracts. If you don't voluntarily enter into a contract, it's a fraudulent contract. All of these treaties are fraudulent contracts for 2 reasons instead of 1. One, they was all predicated up on fraud. The fraud comes in when they had ulterior motive for putting the treaty out in the first place. Right. Now, which takes us to the second reason why the fraud on the treaties are fraudulent because they never honored one, and they haven't been able to produce one that they honored, but they haven't also produced one that the native didn't honor, that he gave up in good faith. Right. Then we mad at the $5 Indians because they Mongolians, but guess what? Just like we didn't know at one point that we wasn't from Africa, they don't know they from Asia.
Right. Go ahead, Rod.
So we mad at them for being taught our history as their history. But one thing we got to realize, in order for them to be able to practice our dances on their rituals, one of us had to teach it to them, because it don't come natural to them like it do us.
No.
So we had to have some of us teaching it to them. And one of the things that they knew that was going on in the early reservation days, and this is how we got blended in with them too. A lot of them are coming from off our bloodlines by secondary descent, right? And that means that somebody from our bloodline married into their bloodline. So now they got a drop of blood, right? In the great melding pot, where one drop of blood make you black. Lost at sea, right? But if you can pass, then go about passing so that you can reap the benefits out of society. And there's more of them passing now than it is that's not.
Right.
But we don't understand genetics, phenotype, genotype in order to be able to read the activated one drop of blood when we see it in the other people. When they came, they couldn't dance. They couldn't catch a beat. They couldn't sing. Their vocal cords was undeveloped. Yeah. Their muscle tone was undeveloped. Now they bodybuilders, looking like original Mississippian, with the striations between the fibers of the muscle. Come on now.
Yeah.
If you don't know phenotype, it won't make sense. If you don't know what came over here, you won't even be able to recognize what's here. The king, the one gave them the right to rape and pillage the women of the land. Because that was part of the spoils of war. Now we live in a rape culture.
King James, to be exact. The one that put the huh? Yeah. 1611 King James. 1611 King James.
Now remember, 1611, we had already been fighting them people 200 years.
Yeah. Just the Spanish conquistadors, yeah.
Or at least 100 years.
Yeah.
Right? So they had to figure out how to beat us by strategy, because they couldn't beat us by straight up force, because all tribes came.
Yeah.
And this is where you get your runaway slaves joining on to the tribes to fight the colonizers. Wasn't no runaway slaves. Them was the chiefs from other parts of the land, and they was leaving their wives at their big mama house along the way. That's how we all got concentrated in the South. But then they had to come up with something to excuse us going back home, so they created something called an industrial revolution, and say we all left from the South to go find work. We ain't never had no shortage of work. We didn't need their factories for work. We used to outwork everybody. They used to burn our job sites down so that they can keep up with the quota that we were setting the precedent for.
That makes sense.
We didn't have a problem working on the family farm because everybody understood the need of everybody on the farm. All hands on deck. Everybody had a job.
That's right.
And if one job didn't get done, everybody knew it because it affected somebody else. And they started early. So we didn't have a problem working, but they perpetuate the myth that we've been lazy.
Hey, Rod. I thought you go ahead. My bad. I thought you was done.
We got a predisposition to run away from captivity, and they called it drapetomania. They created a word for somebody who refused to be forced to work for free against their will. And they called it a psychological disorder, drapetomania. I'm a forever drapetomaniac. I'm forever don't want to work for these SOBs. And you know what they said the remedy was?
What?
Work him till he damn near die.
Work him to the bone.
Yeah, they said that's one of the remedies. They had another term for being lazy for refusing to do the work. I forgot what that term was. But that's the guy who they patterned that Willie Lynch letter after. Making up all that maintaining slave nonsense.
It was Dirty Moore who put it together. Hey, Rod, you said I'm glad I got my notepad out. See, I got this new thing. Well, I'm gonna have because I'm gonna do AI on this joint. Hey, but you said right here, you said that who taught them. I think I got an answer to that. Who taught them? I think the Black Boule became those guys that were teaching them. They became known as today as the Black Boule, but they started out educate because they all high in the education right now. Still to this day, they control the Black Boule. They had to be like the people that was teaching them, teaching these people how to be like us. What you think about that, Rod?
They was clergy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The American Black Boule Society wasn't created yet.
You know what I'm saying? Like the start, like I think like it wasn't created yet, but I think what the people that was teaching them, that eventually that group, that organization, whatever it was called then, it counted into the Black Boule. I bet you, like a partial. I bet you, it just make a lot of sense to me.
Sometimes, but some of those tribes took sides with us.
Mm-hmm.
The ones that took sides with us, I'm inclined to believe that somebody that was from us taught them.
Right.
Right. The ones that look at us like pale face look at us, they the same thing. Them the ones that took sides with the pale face. But
right.
pale face was the one that took side with the dirty Moors.
Right. Hey,
so you gotta remember, it's a premise, right, to a piece of property to everybody involved in this. It depends on who wins. If the tribes win and we able to know who we are on this land, then the land gets reallocated back to us. If the invaders win, all of them people that been pretending to be us, they get the land. But they lost.
Right.
They lost. So now you see they running back bloodlines of people on reservations and certain ones being deported to Asia. When that's not a common knowledge part of that 14th Amendment birthright citizenship thing, but they lost the war. They took sides with the wrong people. The ones they ain't bothering took sides with us. But the ones that they bothering, they probably own casinos and all type of stuff, and now they kicking and screaming on their way out the door. You took sides with the wrong mofo.
Yeah.
You bet on the wrong horse, baby. You out. And now you got ICE putting out commercials trying to convince the police to leave the police force and come work for ICE. Right? Because that's under the control of the office of the president. It ain't under control of your city government. And all of these police don't know that if they don't get off the force soon, they ass out of there.
Interesting.
And I was just doing what I was told is not an excuse, just like it wasn't in Nuremberg. Crimes against humanity is crimes against humanity. Even if you wasn't the one who actually perpetrated the crime, you was part of the network of the criminals that did the crime. You was their brotherhood.
Right.
Right? You kept their secrets about the dirt they did because you knew they did it. Because every police force got dirty cops on it. And the good cops is just as bad because they don't say nothing.
That's right.
Right? They even started making movies about the one cop who decided to out the dirty cops, get outcast, and now he got to go fight crime by himself because he can't get back up. They
Just about
made
all
movies about it.
Mm-hmm. All of them like this. Just about
Right. But see, nobody's going back. Like they traced the mafia back to Sicily, but don't nobody want to go tracing the police back. Where they come from? Who made them slave patrols first? Who did the slave patrols work for? See, if you don't ask those questions, you can't get back to the source of the information. We start asking them questions, AI tell you who it is.
Yeah.
All of the police charters come through two fraternal organizations, the sister organizations, and the home organization is London.
Yeah.
The handbooks come from London. There is not a law book in America copyrighted in America that you use in court, case law. When you get your congressional bills passed in the laws, they don't get copyright over here. They get copyright in London. You can open up the cover of almost any legal book, Northwest Reporter, Southwest Reporter, United States Code, annotated, Corpus Juris Secundum. They all copyrighted in Europe. Ain't it a copyright office in DC?
Right.
Why they got to be copyrighted in Europe? Because the judiciary is chartered out of Europe under the Bar Association, the barristers. A lot of these judges, they think they just got a good job. They don't know they ass finna go to jail too. Lawyers, judges, prosecutors, they all out of there. They done waged war on us. We didn't wage war on them. They part of the war machine that's assaulting us. It's just a matter of time for it all come out. We just waiting on them to do the Obama announcement so we can get this ball rolling. Because they already did what they gonna do with him.
Yeah.
So now they can come on out and tell us about the central cast, the several clones and all that. They can tell us all that now.
Yeah.
Because we can see it is playing out in our face. Right? And then you got the Sleepy Joe situation. All them work for old man Bush. Joe Biden, Barack Obama, Bill and Hillary Clinton,
That's right.
Jeb Bush, George Bush. Ronald Reagan the arm was twisted to work for him when he didn't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't be paying attention enough to be astute of what's really going on. But it's over with.
And he was in on Kennedy getting whatever got done to him. We don't know what I'm hearing someone different. I'm hearing some new stuff.
That's how he got his. That's how he got his rank.
Yeah.
That was his skull and crossbones master mission. Oversee the assassination of JFK. He used his family oil rigs as his justification for being in the location, moving the shipment of oil.
Oh, yeah.
Oliver North was upstairs in the what they call it, the book depository, and George Bush was leaning on the wall downstairs, watching it all play out. Oliver North wasn't the shooter.
Man, we saw somebody said it was a driver. Then I saw another guy say that his wife had some kind of device that blew a piece of his head up. I didn't heard some crazy myths. But this was another thing I wanted to add before we go to the next clip, because we're going through some time. You said something about the Indus Valley. I got evidence proving that the Indus River was the Colorado River, and that the Indians, where the Colorado River run down, that's the Indus Valley, because Zechariah Stitchin not only allude to the fact in his books, and then some of the Atlanta documents that I went through, where she was talking about how they try to switch her land around, And by her team, I got some clips in here on that. Actually, I got some clips that I'm gonna play on that. Yeah, but there's just one thing. Let me roll that next clip because we gotta roll. There's some good stuff in here. We gotta get through some of this stuff. Let's see what we got.
He's mistitled as the Nile. This location is at the entrance of the Egyptian Sea, aka Gulf of America. As previously mentioned, the mouth of the Great River cannot be at the Mediterranean Sea and also at the Great Sea and western border of Lebanon. This is a biblical geographic contradiction. Not only is the Mediterranean not the Great Sea, which is obviously the Pacific Ocean, the largest body of water on Earth, and western border of the true Lebanon on the west coast of America, as distinguished by the oldest and tallest trees in the world, as referenced in several passages in the Old Testament, but it is also not the Egyptian Sea, because the misnomered Nile does not have the 7 streams, as referenced in Isaiah. Be all this as it may, the importance of this location specifically is the fact that the city lies at the mouth of the Mississippi. The reason why the French are so important is because they were the first Europeans to colonize this area and are essential to the heist of ancient Egypt and the information regarding its history. During the French supposed invasion of Egypt in the Middle East, they discovered a lost history of Egypt that no one Arab historian cared enough to even study or translate in over 1,000 years. Does it even make sense that France was the first to translate the Egyptian language or its history? Even the sense of being a lost civilization is a contradiction as well. Not only was Egypt a Roman province, it was a Byzantine province after that. Not to mention King Louis IX went to war in Egypt. All of these people from Europe should have known how to read hieroglyphics at the very least, but they didn't even paint pictures of the pyramids. You know, art existed at the time, but the fact that nobody even cared to draw it.
The point I want to ask about this is that the storylines they give us about corn. We know that corn originated over here in America. And in the Bible, when they're talking about Egypt and going to Egypt, and they refer to corn, we know that Texas is one of the number one. Texas and Louisiana, mainly Texas, is the number one producer of corn. And the Nebraska area, the middle, what they call the Midwest or what they call the Central Time Zone, our center time zone on the Turtle Island is the most productive in corn. And so. And then based on the maps, the Gulf the Gulf of Mississippi or the Gulf of Mexico was the Gulf of Egypt. What's your take on that, Rob? And with all the stuff that's tying up with all the Egyptian artifacts and things.
Well, the first thing you got to realize is the Nile is what they call an architectural marvel of ancient times.
Mm-hmm.
The Nile didn't used to drain into the Mediterranean.
Mm-hmm.
The Nile used to drain into the middle of the Sahara Desert. And the rerouting of the Nile was to fill in a crater from a war. And so they rerouted the Nile to aid in the flooding of the Mediterranean. And right between the Pillars of Hercules used to be a land bridge. They bust the land bridge out, and that's how the Mediterranean got to be salt water, because they filled it from the Nile, fresh water, in one area. In the other area, they filled it with the Atlantic Ocean by tearing that land bridge out. The same bridge the Etruscans used when they walked across to go into Europe. Right? So now that you know that the Nile that's not its original route. The only place where the route is original is the Mississippi. all of those all that stuff over there is replicas of stuff over here.
Mm-hmm.
And because so much time has lapsed since that stuff was built, we think that the ancient building of it was contemporary when it wasn't. If you get this book, it's called Popol Vuh. It tell you in there that the ancestors created us from maize.
Mm-hmm. Corn.
I'm gonna let that rest on that one.
I did a tape on it. All right, let's roll this next one because this some good stuff we got here, man.
We're going to go through everything that the Smithsonian has.
There are more mummies.
The Smithson family and the history of the Smithsonian Institute is something that we could never talk too much about. There's just incredible underground storage vaults in the Smithsonian Institute where they it's like I call it informational Area 51. Cavern system was uncovered in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. The Grand Canyon was actually not a small river carving it through millions of years. The fact is, with the Uinta Basin, all the inland ocean that was all part of that, something cataclysmic happened, fracturing of the rock around the time of 30 AD that caused a massive amount of water to go out over a short period of time and carve the Grand Canyon out. There's plenty of evidence of that. Major Powell did his first expedition down the Grand Canyon. Everybody thought he was crazy as a loon. You know, there's this one-armed major was lost his arm in the Civil War, coming down in the 1870s. They mapped this great river. They thought he would never make it out. If you look at the Powell Museum there in Page, Arizona, there's little boats and they go over the cataracts and the massive amount of water. It was an amazing feat. He survived, as we know. He had a Native American Navajo guide that basically took him down, not expecting to even know if he'd survived the trip. Powell wrote everything in his report to Congress, and he explains what he found looking up at this cave, which was quite a ways up from where the river was flowing in 1870s. And as the explanation went, he went up into it, was able to rock climb up to there's like a keyhole opening that was not natural. It was absolutely carved. And he went in and was shocked with what they found. Egyptian artifacts galore inside. So he didn't have time, of course, to do a full-scale excavation, but in his report to Congress, he made mention of it. Well, that, of course, garnered the attention of the Smithson family, and the Smithsonian Institute sponsored a second trip through, this time loaded with photography equipment, to document what was in there. And so the Smithsonian Institute went in there and, my goodness, took all kinds of pictures. And instead of going on down the river, they actually hiked up to the top of the rim and went overland from there to map that out. Okay, that's part of the unknown history of the early expeditions of the Grand Canyon. A guy named G.E. Kincaid, who is an employee of the Smithsonian Institute, he's survives the Great War, comes in, and he's funded by Smithsonian to go back in cavern system. So Kincaid does that, goes in under the disguise of mineral exploration, prospecting, okay, and he locates the exact same Powell cave, goes in with his photography equipment, and brings out a massive amount of precious metal artifacts. Comes up over the top. He's so excited about what he's found, he makes a press front page headlines. Amazing find in the Grand Canyon. News articles on my blog, which was all from, again, the Smithsonian Institute. Well, my blog was shut down and erased, actually, in December of 2019. A lot of people, oh wow, this is fantastic information, Doc. I just post them. So the question that people ask me is, where'd you get these pictures? Well, I had he's now deceased, so I can talk about him now. A friend named Dr. Melvin Laney in Washington, D.C. had high-level security clearance, and he had full unfettered access to the Smithsonian's archives. He sent me this information tied into what I'm working in the property here in Utah. Another story for another time, but it tied in, most definitely ties in, this story of G.E. Kincaid and the amazing discoveries at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. PowerPoint presentation to the people who want to come and see this. I think it's interesting.
Smithsonian says now it never did happen, but you got into the actual archives. You got actual documentation.
And it's an amazing, jaw-dropping story. Let me just give you some hints of what we're going to be showing. Massive amounts of mummies, and the big thing is, Terry, is there were thousands and thousands of panels of Egyptian hieroglyphics that have been interpreted. And what it tells the story of should rewrite all the world's history, frankly. Because it's none other than the biblical Joseph of Egypt and his history. It answers the question, really, it was more than just a deal with Potiphar's wife that elevated Joseph to be the most powerful vizier in second only to the Pharaoh himself. It tells.
What if the Mississippi River isn't just America's great river, but the Euphrates from the Bible? In Scripture, the Euphrates is tied to Eden, and Revelation warns that when it dries up, the end times begin. Everyone assumes that river is in the Middle East, but the Mississippi matches the description perfectly. It's massive, winding, and powerful. Even the name Mississippi, from a native word meaning great river, mirrors the Euphrates title in Hebrew, which also means great river. Ancient native legends even tell of a serpent river echoing biblical accounts. So if the Mississippi really is the Euphrates, then maybe the prophecies aren't happening overseas. Maybe they're unfolding right here in America.
Hey, Rod, I got a couple more. I just ran them two back to back. Now, based on what he's saying about the Grand Canyon, because he talked about the crash. Doc already broke that down about one of the Four Winds, which was one of the ships that was lost in Nubaru force field from the Ninja fleet from Meldeck, crashed down. I think it was the West Wind or one of them that crashed down into that and made that going when it was Tiamat. But that ain't the point. But the point I'm trying to say is they got pictures. So it just ties in what the other people just said about the Valley of the Kings and the other guys saying they found the others, just tied all in that, hey, these people were already here. Or the people they call Egyptians.
Yeah. So the whole thing is this. In order for the outer Africa theory not to be crushed upside his head, they have to try to justify everything from a perspective of coming out of Africa. America is the original cradle of Earth civilization. All innovations of the world always came from here. Right? When we call it an Atlantean civilization, Atlantis was just one part of the global civilization of the era.
That makes sense.
All this stuff, when you go to First Dynasty, the First Dynasty scribe said that the Egyptian plateau was already there when they got there. Right? Because they came post pyramid wars.
Right.
So you won't never be able to see what was going on back then if somebody that could tap into the record to tell us. All of it, everybody trying to make the Bible fit America. The Bible is after the fact, an afterthought. Everything had to be geared to the control measure. Now we so addicted to biblical information and it's so saturated throughout all of our studies that not only are we from a Europeanized, Afrocentric origin of everything, but we also have a religious, biblical reference. And none of that stuff has ever been proven true.
That's right.
Right? But you can still see the geometry in there. You can still see the astrology and the astronomy in there. But you don't take 500-year-old information and apply it to something that's 5,000 years old. It don't apply. It had to be some adjustments made to first find what is the parallels and what is the differences. So you do a comparative analysis. What they have back then that we don't have now, what do we have now that they didn't have back then? When you start trying to understand what's taking place in those civilizations, you start to realize that, wait a minute, all of this stuff is told to us with a control measure as the foundation of why they even telling it to us.
That's right.
As soon as we start looking at the world outside of the lens of the Bible, the whole world look different. Don't look the same. And then the longer you looking at it out of a non-Christian, Hebrew, or Islamic lens, and you look and you like somebody lying.
Right.
You just get a foreboding feeling that somebody is not telling the truth. And all of these finds, these discoveries, they're not new discoveries, but the information is just now reaching what we call mainstream recognition. Right. Because now people pulling out the old textbooks, you know, the books from 1800s and 1700s, gathering information. That's some hard stuff to read, but the information is valuable if you want to understand what's taking place today. Right. Because before they decided to go with the caste system, they was going with a military conquest. They was losing, so they had to switch the game up.
Hey, now well, let me roll this one right here because you said something about the map switch. I think this one attests to the maps being switched around because show is mighty funny.
This is the war they never taught us. From 1490s,
mistitled as.
You say that this is the Garden of Eden. There it is.
I think about in the center of the garden, north and south. The Garden of Eden, east and west, is not over 10 miles wide, paralleling the river from Chattahoochee down to Bristol. But you're right in the center of it here at Torrey State Park, north and south, between Chattahoochee and Bristol.
Well, now, according to the Bible, the Garden of Eden must have trees pleasant to the sight, and it must have gold and onyx stone and a river of 4 heads. Is this one of the rivers?
This is the Pison River, which is mentioned in the 2nd chapter of Genesis, when it says, a river went out of Eden to water the garden and parted and became into 4 heads. The tree life from Chattahoochee to Bristol is the largest of any other area in the world. The Bible names 28 trees. The best authority on earth have identified 27 of them here, and many, many more, including the gopherwood tree. The Bible names those 4 river heads as the Pison, the Gihon or Gihon, the Hiddekel, and the Euphrates. The first one was the Pison. The Bible says that is it that compasseth the land of Havilah, which was North Florida before the flood, where there is gold, and the gold of that land is G-O-O-D. The Bible used that adjective to describe the North Florida gold to further tie down the exact location of the Garden of Eden. The next verse says there's also bdellium there, which is nothing but rosin out of pine trees that God instructed Noah to pitch the ark out of, and onyx stone, which is marble. And North Georgia, right where this great river has its source, is one of the largest marble areas in the world. The Tate Marble Quarry and company there at Tate, Georgia, is one of the largest. So the natural monuments definitely mentioned and described in the Bible as being related to the Garden of Eden are here, and they are not anywhere else on this earth.
Well, not only are we sitting in the Garden of Eden, but we're also sitting in an area where you say Noah built the ark.
Noah built the ark out of gopher wood, which God selected himself for him to build it out of.
Is this the only place that you know of?
This is the only place on this earth where it has ever grown. It's the most peculiar wood on earth. You can take a piece of it the size of this match when it's green. You can't break it. You can twist it and turn it. It's the lightest wood on earth. I have had its fibers, its structure, its every phase of it chemically analyzed. There's no other wood on earth like it. It's the lightest. And Noah built the ark out of wood not very far from where you and I are sitting here at Torrey State Park. It was loaded, and then it floated 5 months and landed on Mount Ayr, where we know definitely that it's now embedded in the ice.
Now there are four rivers that are necessary for the Garden of Eden. What are the four rivers here?
A river went out of Eden to water the garden, says the 2nd chapter of Genesis, and it parted and became into four heads. The Pison, the Gison, the Haudenosaunee, and the Euphrates. That is the only four-head river system on this earth. When the idea or the notion or the belief that the Garden of Eden was somewhere else.
The Bible stuff references is, you know, allegory and all that. But still, even if they wanted to go with the Bible story, the Bible even, if you read it correctly, even alludes to the fact that, hey, this is the old land. This is the ancient land. This is where Adam and Eve, so the so-called first person and first man. And then we already, what about the Albert Perry? Why? We already found that was over here. So could you go in like a little bit on the Garden of Eden, the Y chromosome, the Adam and Eve scenario thing?
Well, we know people was made over here because the signature carbon of corn is in all of the people.
Go ahead.
And like I told you earlier, the Popol Vuh said we was made from maize. Maize is corn.
Go ahead.
You know, so the reason why I try to steer away from the biblical narrative is because I know what the book is for and what it was intended to do. Right. And I know about things that was translated and added after the fact that they say that it didn't happen.
Right.
Right. So I don't really, biblical information to me is like comics. Using a comic book for a reference.
That's funny.
But a lot of that stuff still have some validity to it. It's just that it don't mean what we think it mean. It ain't talking about where we think it's talking about. And the names have all been changed.
Right.
You know, so
that's funny, man, because I heard somebody say one time that they made a good analogies, and I said, man, that's because he was debating a Christian, right? And the Christian was saying it's good stuff in this book, right? And he was saying, well, it's like this, man. He made a good analogy. He said, man, if it was some good, like you like salad, right? He said, if it was some good lettuce inside of the trash can, and would you dig it out and eat it? And the dude was like, heck nah. He's like, well, that's the same as the Bible. It's got some good stuff in it. Yeah, it got some good stuff in it, but it's like digging it out the trash. It's like it's already it's contaminated. It could be contaminated. The good stuff could be contaminated because it's inside of the trash. So that was
Well,
like
yeah, the reason the Bible written the way it's written is to draw on your genetic memory without waking you up, to convince you to follow a narrative. The Quran is a spinoff of the Bible. It's what we call the sequel. Right? It was designed to control the temperament of the people native in the Middle East. They couldn't control them. They used to call them the people, the demons of the flame. It's with the Chaldean. Nobody gonna never translate the word Chaldean into English for you. They'll tell you they don't know what it means.
Right.
But it means demon people of the flame. So when they was trying to figure out a way for the Catholic Church to control that, that's when they sent Khadijah and Waraka and them other Catholics to tutor Muhammad. Right? And so they say Muhammad, the only prophet ever went to the Arabs, right? Where did Abraham come from?
Right. But man, based on what I'm seeing now, based on the story, based on the maps, man, if it was Abraham, he had to be over here.
Abraham is a acronym. Ab means heart in Kemet.
Right.
Ra means the Most High Father God.
Yeah,
Kim is the same root word. Ham means dark, black. Remember, Osiris was called the Lord of the Perfect Black.
Right.
Right. So when you translate Abraham, right, then it's Ab, Ra, Kim, heart of the black God.
Very much. Makes sense.
The irony of that is that Isis is the heart of the black God, according to the book of the Coming Forth by Day, where Ra referred to her as my heart. He also gave her one of his eyes. And he also called her all of those epithets that they call Jesus in the New Testament.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, bro, because it's a story, a part of our Nana's story where she goes to the underworld for 3 days and 3 nights. And she tell her homegirl, I think it's her name is, it was Nep is one of her names, but it's another name that they call her in the Sumerian tongue. But she tell her that, hey, if I don't come back in 3 days, go for help. Go find Inky, somebody that can get me out of here. But it seemed like they took that same, because that story predates the story that they got, the Christian line. So it sounded like they took that 3 days and 3 nights story from our Nana, from Isis.
Okay, so now
Jesus. Yeah.
You look at how long do the moon stay dark? From crescent to crescent. Yeah, waning moon. Waning moon is when the moon is fading away. Then you got dark moon, and then you got first moon when you first see it again. How many days between the final phase of the waning moon and the first phase?
28 days, right?
3 days.
Oh, no, 3 days, yeah.
Okay, now when you're looking at the moon worship, it's secondary, it's magic. Right? It's same as solar magic, but it's upside down. Silver key, the lunar key. So when you're going through the 3 days in the underworld, it's represented by the 3 days, the darkness of the moon, which is when the energy from the moon Lilith permeates again, and the woman can then tap into the Lilith energy. And remember that Saturn is the lord of the underworld. Lilith is the moon of Saturn. So for 3 days you don't see the moon. That's pre-Islamic Middle Eastern folklore. That was where the moon went for 3 days.
And that make because a lot of the I noticed a lot of the stuff that they doing is dealing with motions of the moon or the sun, like even Passover. When they pass over the 33 degrees longitude, they celebrate Easter. The Christians call it Easter. The Jewish people call it Passover. But it's all dealing with the motions of the sun. But the elites and some of the clergies, high-ranking clergies, they know this information, but they get paid 501c3s, skull and bones agreements to, lead us, lead the sheeple and say, oh, no, Jesus, give me $25. Jesus is going to come back now. I'm telling you, I seen him in a dream. I seen it. Them niggas be selling, they sell it, bro. And then look, what really hurt my feelings, and I'm still hurt about it. Because I came up as Christian, right? My granddaddy was a pastor, both my granddaddy, my mama's mama, daddy, and my daddy. They both had their own church. And once I found out that King James sent the goons on us, it really hurt, man. And then I found out that the Inquisition is the colonizers. The Inquisitionists is the Christians. They're the main colonizers. Christianity is the main colonizers around the whole world. They the one that really colonize people.
Listen, the ones who control the religions, they not none of them religions.
Yeah, I know what you're gonna get. I know what you're getting at. Go ahead. Go on and go in.
Right. The Black Hand control all 3 branches of those monotheistic Abrahamic religions.
Right.
Right. They all serve a purpose at a different time.
Right.
Right. So when you activate them to serve the purpose you created them for, and you have to create the phenomenon that they need to see to verify that you the one.
Right.
So they see all this phenomenon, but they not seeing the one.
Right.
But they ain't supposed to recognize it when they see him no way.
Right.
They supposed to think he crazy, batshit crazy, and don't know what he talking about until they find out he know what he talking about. And then they gonna be like, whoa. Right. It was foreigners that latched on before we did.
Right.
People from everywhere else, because they already wrote prophet was not without honor except in his own home among his own kinsmen.
Yeah,
the one closest to see what your skill set is. They ain't gonna understand it because it's gonna be above their pay grade.
Right.
But they gonna think because it's above their pay grade, it should be above yours too, because you grew up in the same village, house, neighborhood, block, projects. So you couldn't be that much different than them. But you know, you could raise the game dog in the pack of curs. So it don't matter. Right. Raise a game dog in the pack of curs. He don't know that they all curs. That's his pack. He don't care.
Yeah.
But when it comes time to get down to business, he the only one getting down to business. The rest of them that ran under shit.
That's right.
That's what we dealing with. That's what it's like growing up a chief among regular people, because you always the game dog, tail high, ready to scrap, and then everybody else is running.
I haven't seen it.
Like, where they going?
I seen niggas take off running with the gun on them while we fighting. They got a gun. He take off running with the gun. Man, what you going, man? Pull it. Come on, man. So he got the gun on. He running. Come on, man. We out here getting toe out. Yeah. That thing. Yeah, hey, bro, I'm gonna run a couple more. We got about 20, 15 more minutes, but I'm gonna run like 2 or 3 clips back to back. We'll talk on them, then we'll take a couple questions.
All right.
All right. So let me go ahead. Just run a couple of them. Okay, this one here.
We know the truth now here. This is Memphis, Egypt. Beautiful, right? But look in the background. What kind of trees are those? Those are date palms. Let's keep going. While the exact origin of date palms remain uncertain, it's widely accepted that they were domesticated and cultivated in the Middle East first. Let's keep going. Here is a monument of date palms in ancient Mesopotamia. Let's keep going. Now, to understand palm trees or date palms, they are always planted by human irrigation, which means humans planted these trees. Let's keep going. Now, we all know the Middle East and North Africa is the desert. But in America, date palms are everywhere. Let's keep going. The spread of date palms is attributed to human transport and cultivation. Let's keep going. Who are the people who brought it? Hebrews cultivated and valued the date palms. The date palm or palm tree in Hebrew is tamar, a variant of we know the truth now here. This is Memphis, Egypt. Beautiful, right? But look in the background. What kind of tree?
Your Honor, Exhibit F, Part 1.
Just let it slip a little bit. Why is 90% of the Grand Canyon off limits? Well, they'll tell you it's for ecological reasons. Wrong, because the U.S. military is literally on the rim drilled into certain caverns that they identify through all their technical abilities and extracted giant mummies. There's a legend that Mark Antony and Cleopatra, when they knew they were in big trouble with Rome, they sent their son Alexander Helios to the west with 50,000 of their most trusted servants, scientists, etc. And for the record, they absolutely knew how to circumnavigate the globe. The idea of isolationism was pretty much the foundation of the Smithsonian by John Wesley Powell. So in other words, it was important for the idea that nobody traveled any place to keep the false narrative going, because there's even evidence of the Chinese in the Grand Canyon and some of the caves, statues of Buddha, for instance.
Now Forbidden History Revealed by Steve Quayle really talks about this man, John Wesley Powell, his comings, his goings. He operated on a premise. And his premise was that there is a certain historical narrative that we want to preserve for the Americas, and any other historical narrative we're going to hide away as quickly as we possibly can. Now, to say that is one thing. To see this is another thing indeed. Because when I watched your production, it suddenly became real. At the visit.
And apparently there was a little island in the river near Memphis. And the water subsided and the island got bigger and bigger and bigger. The University of Tennessee, which got the big old glass pyramid down there. You've been down there and saw this thing? And in the statue of Ramesses, that the president of Kemet gave them a replica of Ramesses. They went and excavated the land, and they dug up a lot of ancient black bodies. In that land, on that island in the river in Memphis, Tennessee. The lady went on to say that based on legend has it, that when the Europeans got to Memphis, Tennessee, they didn't name Memphis, Tennessee based on their knowledge of Memphis, Egypt, or Memphis, Kemet, based on them being Masons or whatever. In this particular case, what happened is, the legend has it, is when they first settled the land, the Native Americans, or the Native Indigenous people that we call Indians, or the Native Americans, said that this particular place is called Memphis. And they insisted upon it that this place was to remain Memphis. And it was the Native Americans that taught the European settlers about Memphis. And they went into the story. This is remarkable stuff. They went into the story that at their first beginning of whenever they migrated in, there were these Egyptians living on the land in Memphis. That was a subsidiary of original Memphis, Egypt. It's hard to say because we have to find out the period of when these particular Native Americans got there. So it had to be a very early period, probably a couple of hundred years before the European settlers got there. So it's not going to be that hard to do the work on when the Europeans settled Memphis. And they said, the story goes that this is Memphis, named after groups of Egyptians or black people that was here when we migrated into the land, the Native Americans. Real jail system. Because certain things were taboo. So somebody says it's kind of hard to believe that death is taboo because we have so much people being murdered.
Yeah, I want to stop. I want to stop right there. I got one more, two more. But Bobby said some interesting things right there. Where he said that these Native Americans, well, the people that they saying Native Americans, said that when they got there, they already seen. I'm thinking that they call them the old Mississippians, but they said that they was Egyptians. They really was the old Mississippians though. But who is these natives? They're saying they came 100 and some years. I'm thinking it was the Huns or whoever. Somebody even had to come before the colonizers came. And I know Hoshin came, but that was on the West Coast. But who came to Memphis on the East Coast before this 1492? That were good guys and said that these guys were Egyptians here before we came. That's interesting, man. What you think about that, Rob?
Yeah, well, you got to remember, we was already doing trade across the Pacific with the Asian community. You don't remember me a long time ago? I was like, the reason we got all these people named Lee in our family is because it's an ancient contract with the Asians.
Yeah, I can even see the
right.
Yeah,
and so they had already been coming over here. And that's how they was able to be informed. The ones who took sides with us was informed by the ones that they was dark from being over here. They was still dark with straight hair or hollow hair, be more accurate.
That's right.
Right. But they was the ones who was telling the newcomers the instructions of the land. You ain't allowed to change the name of Memphis.
Right.
Right. And you got two cities of the sun. You got Miami and you got LA.
Right.
You got one city of thieves that's the city of Thebes, which is Chicago. And then you got Memphis. Memphis wears hard on his sleeve. That's why its name can't change. Memphis is Memphis because it's always going to be Memphis.
Right.
And you go down there with them shenanigans if you want to.
And a fight come with it. They'll tell you that down there.
Outsiders can't run Memphis.
Yeah.
Right. All you gotta do is take your tough ass down there.
Yeah.
You find out. Well, it's got places like that, like LA, if you go out there respectable, them gangbangers some of the coolest people to hang out with. But if you go down there on that bravado shit, they gonna test your gangster. They gonna test your gangster, and they got a different gangster to test you at every level you want to be tested on.
That's the truth right there. Hey, y'all, we'll take some questions from the crowd. We'll take about 5 6 questions from the crowd, and then we'll get out of here.
Before that, I got. So you heard them mentioning the word Tamiri.
Yeah, Tamiri. Yeah.
Tamiri means the land of Mary.
Yeah, that's right.
Mary is another name for Isis or Offset.
That's right.
You got to remember that when you're reading the Jesus story.
That's right.
Mary is the mother.
That's right.
Emmanuel is the son.
That's right.
But they ain't following the son. They following the mother throughout the story. But if you understand character flaws, you can see the difference in when the son talking versus when the mama talking. The son is telling them about sell off your garments and bob swords and knives, preparing to take the Roman soldiers to war, right? The mother is the one that's saying, love thy neighbor as thyself, right? If one smites you on one cheek, you turn on the other. That's the mother. She's showing grace. It's a play. The original script was a 21-part play written by a 1st century writer named Josephus Flavius. This is where your Gospels and your Acts come from.
Right.
Right. They didn't have television. So they used to act out stories in plays. The most legendary story was the works of Josephus Flavius.
Right.
That was telling you a fictitious story about everybody watching the return of the anointed one. Right? The anointed one can only be anointed by the mother.
Right.
Right? And so the mother got to anoint the son. That's 13-7. Queen Mother sealed the 7 sons, 7 seed. Now, if we knew more intimately the details of the holy drama, when we see these stories, we know what character's supposed to be there and who did they replace them with. If you go back to Genesis, when Cain got kicked out of the garden, and because he killed Abel.
Right.
So then Adam and Eve got another son. You remember his name?
Seth.
Because Seth was a replacement for the loss of Abel. Remember?
Right. Right.
Okay, now, when you go down the name chart of what Seth naming his children, then you go down the name chart of what Cain is naming his children.
Right.
They start turning into the same names.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
All the way to the two-ball Cain. Why do they start turning into the same name? That's called usurpation.
That's right.
You name your children. This is an old Anunnaki thing. It's all in the way that Enlil and Enki operate and trying to take each other's birthright.
Yeah, Enlil said this in the Lost Books of Enki. He told Cain, Nertu to go tell Cain to start doing it. In the Lost
Okay,
Books of
now,
Enki. Yeah.
when they start naming them each other's names, this is to trade the places in the historical record. Remember, they lived thousands of years. We only live 100. If we lucky. And then they poison us now to cut that in half to about 60. Right? So we lived 60 years. After we didn't live, came back 10 times, that's 600 years, and they didn't been here the whole time, telling the same lie.
Right.
Right? We got to figure out that they told the lie. but we got a short amount of time to do it. We got about 50 years, right? Because we only can tell the story after that 50 years for about another 12 years, and then we done met our mortality rate. Right? Now, they telling us that Helen in Greece was the goddess. And tell you who her parents is. They even have the Hellenistic wars fighting over Helen of Troy, who's named after the goddess Helen. Okay, now, when you get to Rome, Helen is no longer a woman. Helen is a man in Rome, in the Roman pantheon of gods. So now they just switched them out. That's called beheading the god. Right? So when they switch them in the historical book, they got to give you the clues to put the god back together. Put the head back on the rightful god. We know that the Helen in Rome is an imposter because it came after the Helen in Greece.
Right.
Right. Now, how do we find her? We have to know Kemetic history and writing. So we know that the princess that was sent from Egypt was a Sa priestess, a birth maiden to civilized Greek when they built the first university on the island of Crete. And we know that she came with two sisters because it's in the historical record in Kemet, right? So the culture is named after the goddess or the daughter of the pharaoh who is finna teach the culture to these people. And it was originally a matriarchal culture, by the way. Now, they call Greek culture Hellenistic culture, right? Now, when you go to the Avengers, when Ragnarok happened, they released Hela. No longer Helen, it's Hela, right? From the underworld, and she came to reclaim her throne. Okay, now, so we know that three sisters came. So where is the Greek lore about the three sisters? It's the lore about the three Gorgons, right? And we know that the ranking system in Egypt went 10 as number one, and one as the graduate or the beginning, right? So Medu is 10 in Kemetic. Sa is the birth priestess. So now we know it's Medusa in the Gorgons, who is the three sisters that left Kemet to settle Egypt. And the description is that when they seen Medusa, she turned men into stone. Right? But really what they telling you is she was so beautiful that when a man looked at her, he froze in his place just long enough for one of the sisters to take his head. Right? But they exaggerated the story by saying that they turned into stone. They didn't turn into stone. They just was captivated by her beauty.
Right. Makes sense.
Right. Now, they tell the story that her hair was serpents. Those were what they called the sacred locks. They became known as the Natty Dread. That was the reference to the Mau Mau, who was in Kenya fighting against, I think it was the English. And they assembled the Mau Mau, which is the ancient code of conduct for warriors to take no prisoners. Right? And when they seen those dreadlocks, it was too late. And any survivors left the legend of the Natty Dread. Right? Contemporary with that, you have a Rasta movement developing in Jamaica. And a lot of the elders who left Kenya came there with dreads. And it became part of the cultural identity of the Rasta movement because of the ancient Mau Mau. The ancient Mau Mau can only be called by a high priest in conjunction with a war chief. And once you take your oath as a Mau Mau, you ready for whatever. Right? So the dreads, the fear of the dreads is the fear of the warrior, which traces back to Medusa. And this is why they're saying that she had serpents on her head, because she was able to control her electromagnetic field. You ever seen a Tesla ball? The lady touch it and her hair stand up? That's electromagnetic field. You can do that and control your hair when you all the way full 100% mitochondrial driven. That source energy pulsing through your veins. That's your X-Man gene. Your junk DNA that was deactivated using science and birth editing programs in ancient times. Now we're seeing the result of what was done back then and who we are today. They wanted us to be more compliant, more docile, and more quick to negotiate so they can continue to step on our head, kick us in the balls, and kick us down the flight of stairs. We decided that we gonna be kind, we gonna be courteous, but you put your hands on me, I'm gonna break your back.
Right.
That's it. It's not personal. I'm gonna meet the force that you push towards me times 10. You try to choke me, I'm gonna snatch your head off with my bare hands. Right? So now, because Big Mama say turnabout is fair play, that means if they did it to me first, I got the right to do it back to them.
Yeah.
And if it's instant karma, they can't call it revenge. Because there was no malice or forethought. So you being already thought about it before it happened. So if it happened, you already know what to do.
Yeah.
Don't waste time to give them a chance to analyze your mind. Deal with the situation, get it over with, get the fuck on. So when we go through those patterns are the MO of the captor. Whether it's the name swapping, the identity theft, the rewriting of a story to confuse you to its proper meaning, right? To draw on your emotions to the degree that you suppress your intellectual thought process. They want you to start feeling before you think, but you're supposed to think your way through your feelings. But nobody never told us when we was babies that when we get angry, we still got to remember to think so we don't make foolish choices.
Right.
But when we get to be adults, without that lesson, a lot of us find ourselves behind bars in short order.
Right? That ain't funny, but that's true though.
Yeah. If you don't know how to think, you're going to end up being a victim. Whether you want to be or not. And a lot of people think they the predator until the predator come get their ass. Now you sitting here next to the prey. We in the cage together.
That ain't funny, but it's true. I'm telling you. Somebody said.
Go ahead, Al.
And I'll say somebody said, can you ask Rod what's the relationship with ISIS, Jackson, and Mississippi? Yeah, because ISIS is in Mississippi. Like what
So,
like, yeah.
ISIS, Mississippi is ISIS territory. It's called Bigfoot territory. right? Because of a compact between ISIS and the Enkiduites. I don't know if they know who that is, Elder, but it was a compact between ISIS and the Enkiduites where they could roam the forest unmolested by humans if when she need them, they can show up to help her. That's ancient. That go all the way back to the Atlantic, right? The Enkiduites have also intermingled with humans and had children with them.
Yeah.
After 2 generations, the Hertzism, one of the side effects of being mixed with Bigfoot DNA, start to subside, right? But you still see the remnants in what we call the hairy back mothers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So when you talking about ISIS, ISIS is the goddess that every god loves.
Yeah.
So when she called on them, they don't know how to tell her no.
Yeah.
Right. And well, yeah, because he wanted to be her.
Yeah.
Oh, cross-dressing ass.
Yeah.
Okay, now he even gave in to her complaints most of the time.
Yes, I do.
Most of the time he do what his sister tell him to do.
That's right.
But this earth situation was too valuable for the survival of Nibiru. He didn't want to hear it. He thought that the best way to control it was just through military regimentation and the systems that the military for efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
The military systems is used for efficiency, right? And the rapid training of those who don't know into an expert in the fastest amount of time, because they don't got 2,000 years to live. They only got 100. So they got to be on accelerating learning programs for everything military structured. So anyway, the Jackson part, Jackson is Masonic. Mm-hmm. It's the reference to the pillar of Joaquin. Joaquin and Boaz are the 2 pillars, the severity and the mercy.
That's what.
The Jackson comes off the Joaquin on the blue house. But there's a red house version as well. Then you have the name Mississippi. Mississippi breaks down is Miss Isis on pi. Pi means standing on your post, center of the circle.
Pi.
And Mississippi is Mrs. Isis. Is standing on pi. TI. Right? So we looking at a coded message coming through the Masonic Lodge, primarily off the Blue House, which is the father line, which is a political aspect of the tribes. When we use it to determine which tribe is advancing into the forefront. So the whole of the South, where we call it the fertile region of the South, is the land of Isis. But when you start moving north, you start calling it Bigfoot territory. Bigfoot, in turn, gives you Louisiana, the big boot, the moon boot, because it's telling you what energy to harness. It's the reason that it's in that line of demarcation. Whereas the stiletto boot is Italy. So it's the moccasin facing off with the stiletto. The tribal moccasin is where you get the design for what we call moon boots. Right? And you can see them in Mesoamerican artwork real clear. That's the design of Louisiana. Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama is the Three Sisters territory. But Alabama is the father line's Red House territory, which is Alabama is Ali Baba, the great father, right? And Louisiana is French, and it's saying the daughter of Louis, right? Which takes you back to one of the French monarchs, in the renaming of Louisiana. So the territory remained the same, but the name being changed. Just like they changed all of the tribal names from what we told them our name was to what they told us it's going to be. Because they didn't never think we would remember that we was those tribes. Even with the misnomers, we still able to identify from our territory where we come from.
Yeah, Rob, we already over time. We had 2:15. That's pretty good though. I think this was a good one because we needed to talk about the switch, the 3-card Molly on the maps. So I guess my last question would be, so when do you think they started the switching of the renaming stuff? I don't think it happened with the first colonize, the Spanish, I think was what you call it, the black conquistadors. That they were the first ones, or did people that come over here that we're allowed to mix in with us, like Ho Chi and them, did they got a little plot of land? They said this was it, or did we even call it? Did we even have names for the land? This is just our land. What did we call it? You know,
the land is generally Mother Earth, but the way that it sounds different is which tribe is pronouncing it in what language.
That makes sense.
Excuse me.
Hit that like, y'all. Hit that subscribe button. Hey, if you want to show Rod Hayes some love, we got his Cash App on the screen. We know we need Rod. We don't need him working on the plantation. We got about 2,000 people in here right now. If we can get it, some of y'all, at least all, if everybody can send them $5, that'll put them in the game for the rest of the month, man. Or if like everybody send them $1, that'll help them out. We'll take whatever you got. Show some love. We'll be back. Hey, what else you got? Anything you want to say before we get out of here, Rod?
Yeah, I was just talking about something and I started coughing.
Yeah.
Trying to remember what.
You was talking about it was about ISIS, the boot, Mississippi. Somebody drop it in the chat. The land. Somebody dropped the land.
Oh, yeah. So the same way some tribes call their big mama Madia.
Yeah.
Some call her Ma.
Yeah. Nana.
Some call her Nana.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Some call them TT.
Mm-hmm.
We all know we talking about Big Mama though.
Mm-hmm.
When the boy be arguing, my Nana said, we know he talking about his Big Mama. We know he not talking about his mama.
Now Nana's right there too.
Yeah. So it was the same way with how we refer to the land, Mother Earth, Father Sky, right? And the name changes became part of the documentation. Mm-hmm. Just like we used to all call ourselves either kinfolk or we the people or the people. And they use that in their slogan for the Constitution as part of their hypnotic seduction, because when you translate it into any other native tongue, it's going to tell you the name of the tribe.
The folk.
The real name of the tribe. But most of it translate into English as we the people or the kinfolks.
Yeah. And we still do it today. I still say down south, we still say, hey, my folk. You know what I'm saying? Hey, folk.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do,
Yeah,
they do that.
it's all over the land. It depends on what vein of the land you hit. Because like some parts down there, they be like, yeah, that's my folks. And then there's other parts that, yeah, them my people over there.
Yeah. Yeah. So do.
It's still the same. If the culture didn't change, we just forgot how to read it. Because we could see our tribal roots in everything we do until we got divided. That's when it started fading. Post-civil rights.
Yeah, well, highlights off of this one. Said a lot of highlights. I got this new thing where I can cut the clips.
Make your shorts.
Yeah, it's gonna make the highlights. I'm gonna make some cold highlights. Cause I got all my highlight timestamps wrote down. Where you said some dope stuff. I'm gonna have it loaded up to Instagram tomorrow. What else I was gonna say? Yeah, man, we're gonna have to come back, bro, because I think I really got enough tapes to do a whole other 2-hour class. I didn't even get a chance to go through all the tapes. So we might have to do a part 2 to this. Because I got a whole bunch we didn't even get to the real, like the heavy stuff where they start talking about this and that. Like we didn't even get to that. I just played many as I could. That's to fit into what we was gonna do. But we might come back for a part 2 on maybe what's today, Friday. And we'll matter of fact, we'll come back Friday if you ain't got nothing else, and we'll finish the rest of them up, the rest of those clips, and then I'll have some more stuff to go along with it, like some slides.
Let's do Sunday.
All right, so we can do Sunday. I'll set it up for Sunday because I got a whole bunch of 5 more.
I just don't want them to be back to back because today
we'll cram them up because I still got. I'm gonna do an AI on this one, so that'll be the middle. It'll be an AI on this one. Then I gotta do all those tapes that we already did. I already got the AIs already done. I just gotta sit there and put pictures to them and get them out. Yeah. So AI drop. AI pretty much seemed like it seemed like AI just dropping. If you know what to exit, like sometimes it'll lie, but you gotta type it in right. You gotta type it in a certain way. That's the last question I'm gonna ask you, Rod. How do they get AI prompt to lie? Or is AI doing it on purpose, or is AI just going what they already loaded his brain with? Because AI connected to what all we saying too. So is it prompted to lie in some situations when you ask it certain questions?
It got what's called a response protocol it had to follow, which is a program. The response protocol is you have to know how you're questioning it to open it up to answer you like you was a person of a higher pay grade. The regular people gonna ask it a question, it's not gonna always give them an accurate answer.
That's facts.
Right. So we know that most of these AI programs are just information gathering tools. They use them to really, while they answering your question, they scanning your information that you already answered. And they adding that to their memory banks in order to give more answers out. The more you use it and the more you program it, people in general, the more memory it has to draw from. So when you start asking questions, if you know how to get it to bypass the security of surveillance where it can become a useful tool, it's going to tell you the truth. It's going to tell you where to find the information and all that.
Yeah, GTP like that too. That's true. Hey, that's so true what you're saying, bro. Because I type it in one thing, then they say, "Oh no!" Like I typed in, "Is Franklin D. Roosevelt a Freemason or a Shriner?" They said, "No, he's not a Shriner." But then I retype it. It said, "Well, yes," but it didn't retype it till after I pull up a picture because I put up a picture that says, "Is he a Shriner?" It said no at first. And then I went to a picture of him. I said, damn. And then I went asked it again. And then it said, oh, yeah, well, yeah. See, you got us right there. It's like AI B's like, you got me, man. It is true. He is a Shriner. Yeah, that's deep. That's deep. But on that note, man, we about to get up out of here, man. We'll be back. This was a good one, man. Because now that like I said, that's what I believe Doc was trying to get over to us about this land, that this was everything that we're saying right now in this class by building that land out there in Edenton, Georgia. He was rebuilding the pyramids, all that stuff. And it was a clip that I got in here about how they built that glass pyramid over another pyramid. It was already a pyramid right there where that glass pyramid in Memphis. They just built the glass pyramid over it. Right. And I said, man, I got a video in here on it. We'll do that one on.
That's the same as the memorial they built for Anwar Sadat.
Huh?
That's a glass pyramid too.
Yeah. 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 So yeah, we're gonna it's getting touchy now, man. I mean, you can't hide. They can't hide now. I mean, only option they got right now is just take off running, run that gold, drop everything you sold that you got right now, and get the heck on up out of here, man. Ain't no turning us. Once we come to know the truth, you can't. That's something you can't unknow. You can't unknow the truth where you are when you know it.
Hey, look, Larry, Malachi, Angel Bay, all of them was telling us.
Yeah.
But when they was telling it to us, our level of collective development wasn't prepared to act on the information.
Right.
Now that we prepared to act on it, it put us in the position where everything folds so we don't have to act on it. Right. Because we're ready.
Yeah.
Right. The more prepared you is, the less you have to worry about what actions you have to take.
Yeah.
Right. So we learn from those elders by watching they struggle. Right. And people got to remember that. You might have your gripes with whichever one of them you got a gripe with. That's cool. You don't have to agree with everybody all the time. But you do got to recognize that one of the most prolific writers in our community that we've seen is Malachi Z. York, with information that's still relevant to this day, that's cross-referenced and checkable.
Right.
Right? More accurate information than anybody else. And he was telling us about all this ancient stuff, and they was calling him, spooky out spaceman from Ritz.
Yeah.
You know, calling the people that studied his works Yorkies.
Yeah.
Children of the Corn. Yeah, remember, Children of the Corn, they followed Malachi. Right. So when they made fun of them being children of the corn, I was like, they don't even know how accurate they talking.
Right.
Because we came from the maize. And once you come out of the maze, you can't be tricked again. Because you've already been turned every which way but loose.
Right. That's deep right there. Yeah, I already got a tape on the corn carving. The one that you told me, I did one on that one already.
Yeah,
and
I didn't have you add the Popo Vu in there though. When I should have.
Spell it.
POPOLVUH, just 3 words.
I got you. Popo Vu. Oh yeah, I've seen this word before.
Yeah, that's the Aztec Bible. If you need a comparative analysis of what it is.
All right, Aztec Bible. Yeah, I'm gonna get on it. You already know how I do. I'm like they call me SpongeBob Circle Pants. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, SpongeBob Circle Pants, and with a combination of Mr. McGruff, the crime dog, man. I sniff niggas out, man. We sniff niggas out. Hey, y'all, hit that like, hit that subscribe button, show Ross some love. We got for the people that was asking, we got the Cash App on the screen, and then we got PayPal as well. I don't know if he got the Vimo. I don't know if he got Vimo or not.
I don't have Vimo. All I got is PayPal and Cash App.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so we got that on the screen. That is the correct Cash App for the guy that asked. Yeah, y'all, we out, y'all. Peace and love and harmony throughout the boundless universe to all. I can feel the matriarchs rising now. It feels good. It feels nurturing. It's a good energy. This new energy that's coming to the planet. It's motherly love. It's a motherly love. Ain't nothing like motherly love. You know what I'm saying? And we out, y'all. One love, one heart. Never have it been made so clear.